PC cases have been a bit formulaic recently. You take a kind of metal box, you drill a few holes in it for some fans, you throw in some tempered glass and stick in some RGB, and there you have it, a good selling kind of mid-range case. This though, it feels a bit more special than that. This thing has some incredible features, whether it's the very easy to remove side panels with a single push button on the back, or the fact that you can interchange them, and specifically, not only can you interchange them, but you can also rotate the motherboard tray. So if you want it a normal way like this, then you can do, but if you want to invert it and have the window on the opposite side and have it on the other side of your desk with the graphics cards hanging down the other way, then you can do that as well, all with this case. It also has a full cover power supply basement with actually blanking plates on the top, which means you can customize it even further. So if you want to, say, mount the full size 360mm radiator that you can fit in the front, then you need to remove one of the front plates, but you can also remove the one behind that if you want to put a fan directly above your hard drives that are in the cage at the bottom, or you can rotate the whole thing around if you fancy as well. There's also massively thick sound deadening foam on the rear side panel as well as up at the top, which actually keeps this thing incredibly quiet. Obviously the system is on next to me right now, and generally speaking I can't really hear it even though it's literally right here, so that's very impressive. You do also have a sort of noise reduction front as well, where you have two of the grills at the front. That is all of the air intake that the front two fans get. So in theory this may be a little, I guess, sort of suffocated if you like in the front, especially if you want high airflow, but for, you know, static pressure fans and stuff, and especially if you do have something like a radiator in the front there, then this would do just fine. You also have removable dust filters both on the bottom and in the front, with both of these being extremely long, like crazily long, and it's just a single filter on both, so you can remove them very easily, clean them, and then shove them back in, which is always good to see. It does have a rather interesting method for mounting your hard drives, similar to the Phanteks Enthoo Evolve actually, where you have the option to both have hard drives in the bottom cage down here, as well as also sticking out on sort of hanging mounts, if you like, from where you would normally have hard drive cages in sort of older style cases. These are all optional, and you can maneuver the blanking plates as well, so if you want a little bit more airflow coming from the back or something like that, then you can move those out, or if you want to route a few cables through there like I've done, then you can also do that too. Now in terms of motherboard support for this case, the one that I have in here technically isn't supported, and I've had to kind of go out of my way to make it work. I'm using the Asus Zenith Extreme in here, and I can confirm that if you do move your cables and have all of your cables coming through the hard drive mounting holes, then you can actually get it to fit in just fine, even with a large 240mm radiator and an RTX 2080 Ti in here, so that's cool. In terms of actually supported motherboards, it's mostly just standard ATX and smaller, so bear that in mind if you are planning on picking up this rather large case for the size of motherboards that it fits. On the back of the motherboard tray you also have three 2.5-inch SSD mounts. These are all removable as well, so if you want to clear up some space to, you know, more easily cable manage, or even if you just don't want them in the case to make it a bit lighter, because this thing is heavy, especially with, you know, a PC in it, then you can do that as well. Or if you just want to install all three 2.5-inch SSDs in there, then go for it. And finally, next to those mounts there is a built-in fan controller. Now this fan controller can be controlled both by your motherboard and also by the small dip switch on the top next to your sort of top or front I/O. By the way, the rest of the I/O is a USB 2 port, two USB 3 ports, headphone, microphone jack, power and reset buttons, as well as a hard drive activity LED. Actually building into the case was, as I said, fairly easy. There was a couple of hiccups, mostly just because, as I said, I'm using a motherboard that isn't really designed to fit in this, so bear that in mind, but my overall experience is that the fit and finish is really very nice. The only mild sort of quality issue I had with it was just with getting the side panels on, where they're a little bit finicky, and there's a specific sort of technique to each one that is different, where you sort of have to either slide them down and then slide them along slightly and then push them in, or the front of the windowed one will never go in properly and you need to push it along and down. But I don't know if that's just because this is one of the earliest models that they've done, as this is actually like on release day that I'm filming this, so there's lots of potential things, but overall the actual final build quality of this is really nice, and also really like how they've done the side panels. It's a very easy to access kind of thing. and a really nice way to do tempered glass as well. Now the other thing that you may be wondering here is what price is this? This looks like a you know, crazy big and also crazy premium case. Is this selling for £200-300? Well, no, actually, surprisingly, it's selling for £140 at the time of filming. That is incredibly impressive for the level of quality you get, and especially because they've gone for the more sort of, you know, subtle, sound-deadened approach. This is, as I said, just really very nice. Now this kind of sits it up against stuff like the Phanteks Enthoo Evolve ATX, which is still kind of my favourite. Personal preference here, but either way, obviously both of those are going for slightly different kind of target markets, but they're both very, very nice cases, and I highly recommend either of them if you're after a high-end case. I think aesthetically for me, this one is really very nice. I actually really do like the orange accents on here, and it's just a bit different seeing something that is a little bit, you know, quieter, a little bit more subtle than your usual kind of gaudy RGB and generally disregard for anything other than style points kind of aesthetic. This is a very nice option, and yeah, I really quite like it, and I highly recommend it if you're interested in a case anything like this. Now, would I put this on my desk though? That one is a bit of an interesting one. I would probably still say yes if it weren't for the Phanteks Enthoo Evolve ATX and the Evolve X that's coming out. Both of those cases are just my personal, like, stylistically, I just really love them. This one is also a little bit bigger than that, and is a little bit bigger than I would kind of like for an, you know, on-desk case. So for me, it's probably not quite for me, but I highly, highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in it. And if you want something this big, or if you don't want something this big rather, there is also the new 601 as well that you can check out too if you fancy. So yeah, I guess that's that. Of course, that is my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. Is this a case that you're desperate to get your hands on and you love the look of it, or is this something that you're not so interested in? You much prefer the cheaper or more RGB variants? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, if you have any questions as well, feel free to leave those down there too. If you want to buy this case, or if you want to check out any pricing kind of when and where you watch this, then take a look at the top link in the description down below. That will take you to a local Amazon site where you can see all of that information. Otherwise, of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you want to see more videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday with live streams on Thursday nights, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, as well as also check out the other links in the description, stuff like Patreon if you want to support me directly, or Amazon and Overclock UK affiliate links, because those massively help. There's also stuff like private internet access, which is a great cheap VPN, and Humble Bundle if you want to subscribe to their monthly deal. There's plenty of other videos over there, and yeah, that's kind of that really. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you all in the next video.